Hi, Kira. So great to meet you today.
So nice to meet you also. Thanks for taking the time to chat.
Yes. So I had discovered your Lifted Movement brand recently, and I just wanted to say my first thought was, wow, that is
Oh,
so beautiful and unique and different, and it like makes me want to work out.
excellent. Excellent. Then you already get the whole brand ethos.
I totally get it. So tell me a bit about why you created the brand.
Yeah, so it was sort of the coming together of two, I guess, happy accidents. And so the first was just that my mom for 5 years had been saying to me, like, I'm really like bone density's on my mind and osteoporosis runs in our family and I should be weight training. And we're both really honestly aesthetically driven people. And so we would spend, an hour on a Saturday back in our Sage days, and we would be Googling and we'd be like, okay, designer weights, home decor weights, pretty weights, nice fitness equipment. We're like, how does nothing exist?
Yeah.
And so after searching and searching and searching, at some point my mom came to me in about the early mid 2020, and she kind of had this idea of like, well, what if we got them made? And I was like, yeah, okay. And at the time, honestly, I was starting an alcohol concept, and I was thinking to myself like, oh, this is a lot to like start my own business and design these weights for my mom, but at the same time, you want to do anything for your family, and I believed in her taking care of her bone density. So I said, sure, mom, I'll design them for you and we'll help get them manufactured. And then two things happened. One, everyone who heard that I was going to do this for her was like, oh my God, will you make me a set? I hate my weights. And I thought, wait a second, there's this many people out there who hate something that they own. This seems crazy. And then in December, end of 2020, I had a ski accident and I ruptured my ACL. And it was a bad accident, so lots of soft tissue damage went along with that. And now fast forward, and I find myself, we're going into the surgery center, and my mom says to me, she thinks she's distracting me. Really, she's just annoying me with, in my mind, I'm like, stop talking. All I can think is I'm about to get knee surgery. And she says to me, I've really had my chapter as a CEO. I think I want to turn this, we were calling them lifted weights. I think I want to turn this lifted thing into like a hobby business, and I'm going to hire a CEO. And I'm like, okay, good for you. And I can't really think. And now
Yeah.
I kind of I come to of this knee surgery, and it's about 3 weeks later, and I'm able to like get on my sticks and like get moving a little bit. And I sit down with my, at the time he was just my physio. He's now involved in Lifted. And I sit down with him and I said to him, okay, real goods, I want to be back skiing next year. How many times a week do I need to train? And he laughed and he said, a week. He said, Kiara, this is 5 times a day or you're never skiing again. And I was like, what? And so now I'm thinking, hold on, I'm going to start an alcohol concept. Well, my mom starts a fitness concept and I have to train 5 times a day. I was like, something's wrong in the ethos. And so I took her for lunch and I said, look, I found your CEO. And she said, you did? Who are you thinking? And I said, me. And she said, but you've already raised all the money for your concept. And I said, you know what? Let me just call them and see what everybody thinks. And at the time I had five yeses. And I knew that to start Lifted was going to be a literally heavier lift to get off the ground, and so I needed to double the amount. And in 2 weeks, we had 21 yeses, and it was just unbelievable that every investor that I approached said the same thing: I hate my weights, or I don't own any because they're too ugly. And so it kind of was these really green flashing lights that all indicated towards people wanted this, people hated the category. And so I really wanted to go after really drawing on my Sage background of when I started at Sage, we had these great formulations and we had really brutal packaging. We looked really mom and pop. We looked really like, I used to reference, the personal care grave. We all have it. It's where like your aunt gives you that soap and you don't want it. So it goes in that drawer, and like your vitamin C is kind of shoved in there. And then if you're sick enough, you're like, oh yeah, maybe I have some zinc in there. And you open that drawer and maybe you use stuff. And my thesis with Sage was, well, wait a second, if we had this on our purses, on our desks with us, wouldn't we take better care of our health? And so as we started Lifted, the thesis was, let's be the opposite of out of sight, out of mind. And let's be something that people see across their living room. You go to CB2 And there's no category. Everything's about being sedentary. You know, you have got a sitting here or a sitting there, or a sitting in your dining room, sitting in your living room, sitting in your kitchen. It's all sitting.
Yeah.
You know, and if we put a chair into the woods, we're the only animal out there that would know what to do with it. We're the only, you know, mammal that would sit and do what we do.
Yeah.
And so that really started to bug me, especially as I was trying to train 5 times a day, just how easy it was to be sedentary. And so that really got a sort of a bee in my bonnet about how could we make things that were visually inspiring and made you want to train.
Yeah, well, congrats, because that is definitely a void in the market. I completely agree with you about just finding something that looks cool, that you want to even display. I mean, you've gone beyond something that looks nice, aesthetically pleasing. Like you've actually created something that looks like a piece of furniture, like something you actually want to display as part of your room decor.
Oh,
So
well, thank you.
how
My favorite
did you
question that
come
we
up with
get
that?
is people will walk up to us at events and they'll pick something up and they'll say, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Yes, we did it." Because that's, you know, that's what I want ultimately, is I want on second glance that you realize that it's fitness equipment, not on first glance.
Right. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you know, I do work out at home. I have a you know, someone that I follow that I work out at home, and I do have some really ugly kettlebells, and I've got my mat and I've got my resistance bands. But I have to tell you, on Amazon, I was looking for, like, I'm an all black or all white aesthetic girl, so like I was
Yeah.
looking for something that I thought might look cool or whatever, and I wouldn't buy it unless it was aesthetically pleasing, because I've got
Hmm.
that visual as well.
Yeah.
Um, so from just looking here online here at your shop, now this whole, like, wow, the arc. Now that is just beautiful.
Oh, thank
Tell us
you.
about the arc.
You know what? The arc was actually, I'm going to tell you about the cart and then the arc, because the arc was born from the cart. So one night I was sitting up in our family home in Whistler, and I was working on the design of the weights. And it was 6 o'clock at night, and we have a built-in bar. And I saw the ingredients for a Negroni, caught my eye. And so I got up and I made myself a Negroni, and then I kept working. And then I thought, oh, shoot, you know what? I hadn't trained yet tonight. And now I'm not going to, because I've had this Negroni. And then I thought, well, that's interesting. I looked over there and I saw Negroni ingredients. So then I made a Negroni. Well, what if I looked over there and seen a gym? That's not to say that I wouldn't have had a Negroni later, but if I had looked over there and that's what I had seen. And so
Right.
as I was staring at these hanging wine glasses and the bottles sitting below, I thought to myself, well, hold on. That's what we need. We need something that is a piece of furniture that's functional, that's in people's living spaces, that is a reminder that it's like it's right there. Use it. And so the movement cart was the first it was the play on the bar cart, where you hang your free weights instead of your wine glasses, or you
Yeah.
hang your
Right. I love how
have your
they hang like a wine glass, which I can
yeah.
totally see that, you know, that's the concept. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when we finally had that like properly prototyped, and we began sort of showing that, the first question that I got from people was like, "Oh my goodness, I love this. What about for the light fitness user? Like, what about I only want 3 sets in my house, or I only want, you know?" And so I thought, oh yeah, no, I really do want to have solved for all use cases. I don't want to just say, hey, unless you want this, X dollar gym, which was also part of a big barrier, is the Chanel of weights exists. There are 2 or 3 brands, and if you've got north of $40,000 Canadian to outfit your gym, you can absolutely get the Chanel, and that's not what we're trying to be. And
Right.
you can absolutely get, the H&M of weights also exists. What didn't really exist is like, where's the rag and bone of weights? Like, where's this sort of mid-level?
Right.
And that's really where we want to be. So
Right.
we're not the $30,000 gym, and we're not your $500 gym.
Right.
Um, and we're probably closer to the $500 gym. But so the ARC was born out of wanting to really ensure that whether you wanted 1 set, 3 sets, 5 sets, or the whole collection, we had a solution for you that could be a part of your living space. And the reason for the softer shape is I find a lot of things in fitness, both on the soft and hard side. So both on the way that fitness is treated, and on the way that it's designed, is like it can be very militant masculine, reach for that last rep. You've got 3 more in you. Like maybe you don't, and that's okay. And that's really the approach that we want to take at Lifted, is we want to remove all of the barriers to entry, which is one of those being that it's beautiful and it's in your space. And the other is I'm really passionate about, I spent my entire 20s training for all the wrong reasons. I wanted to model, I wanted to act. So I thought I needed to have abs and thin arms, and it was all the wrong reasons. It wasn't for function at all. Who cares what my body could do? I care what it looked like. And coming out of this ski accident, it was like such a 180 for my brain to go like, you can look as cute as you want, but if you can't, carry your groceries in, or you can't, pick up a toddler, or you can't put your suitcase overhead at the airport, who cares? And so functional movement became a really, really important piece for us. And so right now, what you see in the business is the product push has happened, and we're finally, we're almost in stock of everything. So it's taken about 1.5 years longer than I could have ever anticipated. Coming out of a background at Sage where I'd probably developed somewhere around 1,000 SKUs, I was a little bit product development arrogant. I was like, it's a product, I can develop it. But I was used to, glass and plastic and paper and essential oils, and not cast iron and steel and silicone and marble and paint. And so it was a whole different world.
Essentially.
Yeah. And not just furniture that could hold us, but furniture that each piece needs to be able to hold such weight. And so it was a big educational experience. And it was just so fun. Just like, so, I mean, I love learning. And I love learning in a hands-on real life capacity. I didn't go to university. My dad said to me, when I was debating, he said, "Are you committed that you will always be learning?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "As long as you'll always be learning, don't go to university. But if you think there's a chance that you will rest on your laurels and not, you need to go to university." And so when I started this business, I found a family business in Mexico, and he became like an uncle to me. And I just spent time in the dead center of Mexico learning about cast iron and steel, and how it was machined, and how it was poured, and how it was treated. And kind of gave myself a crash course so that I could get to a place of deep understanding about how our equipment was made. And so I was handling the manufacturing and the aesthetic side, and I knew that I didn't want to just come out with beautiful things that weren't actually functional, or that you could hurt yourself with. And so the part 2 of this business that we're now turning our focus to is going to be the educational side. I don't want to sell heavy things to people to hurt themselves with.
Right.
And so we're really passionate about functional movement, that you're using these things for the betterment of your whole body, not just a bicep, for instance.
Right. Now, again, I'm just taking a look at your site as we're chatting here. And would you say it's more of a feminine brand? Like, are you kind of, I know it's not, it's because they're white and they're pretty and they're more beautiful, but it seems to be sort of more focused to women.
Yeah, I would say 2 things to that. So to start, yes, who am I most passionate to go after? It's actually not necessarily the fitness, the buff girl today. For me, she's somewhere between 46 and 52. She's realizing that as her estrogen goes down, so does her bone density. She's realizing that her muscle mass is decreasing, and she's like, no, I don't want this, but I don't totally know what to do about it. And so what I'm really passionate about is, hey, here's something that's beautiful, doesn't need to interrupt the aesthetic of your world. And here's the education on where do you start. The amount of emails that I get, and I haven't even met people, and I get an email saying, hi, into our hello at Lifted Movement. How heavy a weight should I use? And I think, my goodness, like, people are really seeking for this information. And they're really starting from scratch. And so I want to be there right at the ground level. There's a lot of people that own fitness businesses that would say, that if I use a mountain as an analogy, they're at the top of the mountain and they're like, look, like, I'm very svelte, come to my top of my mountain with me. And I'm saying, look, I spent my entire 20s with autoimmune challenges and in and out of hospitals, and I've done too many steroids, and I'm a bit of a Benjamin Button, sorry. I'm a lot older on the inside than the outside. And so I'm saying I'm at, base camp, and I want to climb this mountain. And as I get education, I want to share that education. As I figure out how to train safely, I want to share how to train safely. And so we're in the inception right now of building out what will be our education platform. And it will really be based on training in a safe and functional way instead of in that militant, maybe a bit more masculine way. But part two of the answer of your question is no, I don't want to just stay looking as, femme elegant as we do today. We are currently in the exploration. So our original collection was called our Cloud Collection. And I'm right now in mid-development of our Storm Collection.
Which is all black or gray or something.
Which is gonna be the sort of the noir version of what you see right now. So so no, we won't always stay in that space, but certainly we are kind of targeting that late 40s female who wants to know where to start.
Right. That's kind of me, you know, I've gone in and out of being at the gym all the time and being like that gym person. And then COVID hit and then everyone just worked out from home. And so working out from home is like a much bigger audience now because that's the way it is. And then you realize it's like, okay, I don't have to go to the gym and I don't need an entire set of weights. I don't need dumbbell, like I don't need like leg press, whatever. And it's just a matter of managing your daily movement. And what I find more interesting and effective for me is HIIT workouts versus going to the gym and treadmilling it out and working out for like an hour, making sure you put your hour and a half in to do the entire circuit when I can get a fit and toned body doing it correctly for my age in like 15 minutes a day. So, I mean, it's just about knowing, the proper movements and what kind of weights that you're going to use for those movements. So I really appreciate the fact that you're going to combine your product with education like that.
Yeah. And I think, what's important and clearly what's able to work for you that we will caution people around is, first thing. So whenever someone enters into our movement program, we're going to do a safety check on your body. So there's about 5 movements that we're saying you should be able to do these 5 movements. They're not with equipment, pain-free. Once we feel like you can get through those 5 minutes, then we're going to do a mobility check. And we're going to say, okay, do you have the mobility to be training? Then we're going to say, do you have the control to be training? If you're safe and you're mobile enough and you have the control, I'm in full support of doing something like a 20-minute HIIT class. If your hips aren't mobile and you don't have control in your ankles, I'm not in support of someone going and doing a 20-minute HIIT class. They're not starting so our business partner who we work with, his business is called Fit to Train. And even though he's like, it's kind of a clunky, it's not the most elegant or sexy, brand name, it's literally is, are you fit enough to train? And so, and the beginning of that is, are you safe enough to train?
Yeah.
And so if someone is entering in it, they're safe enough, they're mobile enough, and they have the control, I'm like, get that HIIT class. If you're not safe or mobile or have control, that's where you end up with injury. And then injury often leads to, movement intimidation because we feel scared of it.
That's a really good point. Also, like from years ago, I had sciatica and there was a point where I couldn't bend over to touch my toes. That's how bad it was.
Right. So therefore,
no heels for a year, like just
and therefore no HIIT class for you during that time.
No, any class. Like the first time I went to the gym, I thought, okay, I'm going to get a trainer because I want to make sure that whatever I do, I'm not going to make it worse. When you're talking about my ability of my mobility, it was so limited. Like I remember her stretching my leg to my chest and I was like, oh my God, I could barely do this. Right. And now it's no problem. I'm totally, I can do great. So I think that's really key. And that's very important to find out, did you have surgeries? Do you have injuries? Is it age related? Like you can't just like go boom and all of a sudden you're there.
The one size fits all is I find that part of the industry challenging. This somebody's body workout, get these abs in 21 days. It's like, she's like not for everyone
or whatever.
Yeah. She's 20. She's never fallen down. It's like, that's not for everyone. And I think that then as women, we put ourselves under this pressure, like, oh, well, if she can do it. And it's like, I have walked out of so many classes with my peers, but I've had long-term steroid use and I've had, months in hospital and I can't do the same thing that my peers could do. And that's okay. But I needed a safe place to look and go, where am I supposed to start? And that's where what we want to do at Lifted is meet you where you're at. Where are you starting or where are you in your journey? and whatever level that's at, we want to be here for you. But I think that what I'll say is the like, sea level to base camp, that to me is a very underlooked at segment.
Mhm.
And it's the most important segment. If you can't get to base camp, you shouldn't be trying to summit.
Totally. Yeah. And then you have your stretch bands as well. So if
Hmm.
you are, able to physically lift weights or whatever, the
Hmm.
resistance bands are always a great alternative because you're just using your own body resistance, and it's a
Yeah,
lot, there's no pounding on your body, and that's like,
totally.
yeah, it's a much easier way to work out.
It's a good entry point for sure.
Yeah. Now, and the hand weights, those are great. They can, you just put them on your desk, and they look
Hmm.
nice on your desk.
It's fine. I just gave mine away. Otherwise, I would have them totally reachable
Yeah.
from my desk.
Yeah. Even if you're on a call and you're just like, you know what, while I'm here, you don't even
Yeah,
realize you're
yeah,
working.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and they're great for all of our little stabilizers. And so often, like it's like I'll just be sitting doing little things with them. They're just improving mobility, stability, so that then when I go to train, because for me, it's like what I really care about is I want people to connect to a different why. So like I'm training because I hope to have kids one day, and I want to be able to pick up a toddler and not throw up my back. And so when you're training for a why like that versus training for a body percentage, a size of jeans, it's a completely different thing. And so I'm really passionate about what we call fitness for a different why. And so whatever that why is, it could be that you want to keep up with your kids. It could be that you want to travel into your 90s. It could be, but whatever way, you want to be able to live every day of your life. What does that look like, and how can we support you in being ready for that?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier how sedentary we are, like how we sit all the time. We're sitting all day.
Hmm.
And it's great
Hmm.
when I have my Apple Watch and it goes ding ding, like get up,
Hmm.
we need
Hmm.
those
Hmm.
reminders. But just having just like a daily stretch, like just having daily movement. And like I said, it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be like you're hitting it for an hour. Like just daily movement is so key and so important.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I read recently, it kind of hit me in the face, but it was a book called Built to Move, and it's two Olympic athletes who are married who wrote this. And they were speaking about how, you could go and do a 90-minute CrossFit class, a 45-minute CrossFit class, but then if you go and sit at your desk for 7 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, you're still a sedentary person. And I think that's what's really been getting me. And so what I've been trying to do is break up my movement. So I've got equipment at my office, I've got equipment in my home. And so if I'm sitting and after you and I hang up, I'm just gonna get up and do two things. I'm not gonna, do a half an hour class. I'm gonna do two things. And then when I'm done my next activity, I'm gonna do two things. And maybe I'm gonna do one thing. Maybe I'm gonna go run the stairs at the base of my, it's like I'm trying to just get little things so that I'm not just becoming the person who then is just like looks at it and goes, "Oh my God, I've been sitting for 7 hours," or whatever that is. There's a study that they reference that it's an over 60% increase chance of what they call any cause death for people who sit for more than 6 hours in a day. And interestingly, sitting on the floor doesn't count
You
because
have to get up and down and you're moving your
you're
muscles.
right. And if you sit on the floor, when's the last time you sat on the floor and you sat still for more than 10 minutes? You don't, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm gonna move my legs. Oh, I'm gonna move my legs that way. Oh, I'm gonna sit on this. Oh, I'm gonna sit on that, right? We sit in a chair and we're like plunk,
Right.
and then we don't move because it's so nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
And so now I watch TV on the floor. And so it's like it's all of these tiny little things that have been the big game changer for me. It's not that now, oh, I have this fitness business and I train 90 minutes a day and I'm super jacked. It's like, no, I'm doing a lot of little things to just go, how is my body going to function better? And then how can I share that with as many people as possible?
Yeah, really, I like the fact that you got to think about your goal purpose, right? And everyone
Hmm.
has their different goals for different reasons. But for me, sort of what stresses me out, it's like, oh, I didn't work out today, and it's like, like I gotta like put aside that time or whatever time that is. But when
Hmm.
you do it in the way like what you just said about like, okay, so after this call, I'm gonna go do you know, whatever it is that's moving my body, even if it's just I'm gonna go do some curls or whatever, and then later on I'm
Hmm.
gonna do something else. Like if you can break it up and make it like it's not like you're dedicated to like spending that time away from whatever it is you need to do to work out. It's really like a mindset. Just
Totally.
your habits and your mindset is I think the biggest challenge for fitness.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that habitual, like making it that sitting for a long time should start to feel uncomfortable. Like you're like, oh, why have I been doing this for so long? And then it's not that you need a 90-minute solution. You know, you can go have 3 minutes here, go sit for another 45 minutes, go have 3 minutes here. It's like those little things, they add up, and they decrease your aches and pains at the end of the day. They decrease your inflammation. They give you more energy. So it's these tiny little commitments. At the end of the day, I might have trained for 45 minutes or an hour, but I didn't feel like, oh, I've got to sit down in my day and go, okay, well, when am I going to have 30 minutes to get ready to train? Then I got to get to the gym. Then I got to train. And then I got to shower. And then I got to get some. It's like that starts to get
That's
prohibitive
like
to feel
two
like you
hours out
can.
of your day. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And now you add kids and a job, and how are
When?
you doing this? Yeah,
Totally. Yeah. I know.
yeah,
I
yeah,
had a fitness place right next door to my building. I literally counted the
yeah,
steps as I walk out my door and I go like
yeah.
to the building next door. Okay, that's like 30 steps. I have no excuse. I have to go.
Right,
Right.
right, right, right.
And then
Yeah,
but
and
then you
it's
don't want to
it's a
go when
really
it's
smart thing to do.
busy. It's so busy and there's so many people and they're in there
Yeah,
with me and it's annoying and
yeah.
whatever.
It's
And
less.
so
You get some lifted equipment, and then you can even save yourself the 30 steps.
oh, totally. Yeah. Put those 30 steps into the actual workout.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Um,
So this is really fantastic. So when did you actually launch? How long's the brand been available for?
we did a soft launch with NKPR at their TIFF event 2 years ago, 2 summers ago. But we've really been what I would say launched like with inventory, sort of not launched as a concept, but really as a brand that sells product since about holiday, since about December.
Great. And so everything is available online. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. The
No.
only thing that's still on its way in is our movement cart, and that will be available in August. Um, it has been our most praised item, and we've been in pre-sale, but it was a lot harder to manufacture than I could have imagined. But I'm so excited to say that it's now firmly finished and coming to us in August.
Right. Well, like you said, you're dealing with not just function and style, but the weight of it, literally the weight.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
I'm looking at one of
Yeah.
the options here and there's like 2, 4, 6, 8. There's like 10 weights or 2, 4, 6. So you can do it a 10 or a 6.
A five.
A 5.
A five is our tall one,
Okay.
and then our short one is three. Three sets, sorry, I should say.
Sets.
So you're
Yeah.
right.
Sorry. Yeah.
10
There.
weights.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
5 sets.
I'm like, how did I get that wrong?
No, 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 no. You're totally right. Individuals versus that.
Totally. Yeah, well, again, congrats on a beautiful brand and doing something that's truly unique to the industry. You're right on spot with fitness is not a trend; it's here to stay. But home
Yeah.
fitness and just reaching that space in a beautifully aesthetically beautiful way. It's something really unique.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
always so nice to hear it said from other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job. And so just to tell everyone, where can we find you?
So liftedmovement.com, or our social handles is lifted.movement.
Excellent. Okay, well, I really appreciate our call today and